the hell happened to wrestling?
Outlaws.
Well, I don't go no string, no smacking when the beat goes whacking and the sound I'm checking into a hotel. I'll slow no more outlaws in town. They ran their clan.
Welcome. Adam, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm great, thanks. Aye. It's good to be watching some wrestling that I'm enjoying watching.
Nice.
This is episode 72. And we're talking about TNA, Bound for Glory 2006 again. How was your experience with it?
Yeah, enjoyed it. I think we'll touch on as we go some of the reasons why. It's a bit of a breath of fresh air, I think, TNA, after some of the things we've done. And probably didn't quite enjoy it as much as the last show, but there's some really good things in it.
That's interesting. It's kind of like that thing of certainly the very first show that we did being a complete novelty and being completely different to all the shows that we've been doing with WCW. I found this really interesting. I found it fun to watch. It feels refreshing, I think, like you just said. So yeah, we shall talk. But let's talk about our movie. First of all, our horror movie from 2006, which was the Korean monster film, The Host. Will I give a wee synopsis of The Host?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm really keen to. I don't think we've talked about it at all, really, apart from some very brief messages I sent you probably a couple of weeks ago now. So I'm keen to find out what you thought of it. You've never seen it before?
No, never seen it before.
Okay, a monster emerges from the Han River in Seoul and begins attacking people. One victim's loving family does what it can to rescue her from its clothes, is the word that I've got there, but I think it's clutches. Rescue it from its clutches. It's very much a classic monster film. CG, I don't know what you thought. The CG's a bit on the iffy side, but probably only because it's almost 20 years old.
Yeah.
That's right, 2006 is nearly 20 years ago. What did you think of it?
I thought it was okay. It didn't... I'm often not a big fan of, like, monster movies. Like,
Do you like it when you don't get to see the monster?
Very much an inside joke. I kind of like. I feel like I do get taken out of it when I see the thing, and I find the thing often looks a bit silly.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the aspect of, I think, like, the way it moved and the speed was a little bit like, it's jumping in and out of water and it's able to just chase things down, grab them, drag them, that element. Yeah, that's fine. But I think, like, I tend to more prefer, the psychological element. And there was some of that, but when I see the physical thing and it's running about, I'm just a bit like, it's fine. It's never going to put any fear into me, because I'm like, well, that's not coming out of my local pond, that thing. I thought it was okay.
I think I'm with you. At first, I thought it was quite refreshing, because a lot of time with these sort of monster films, you see it in the dark, you see little bits and pieces of it, and it's not right up until the end, until maybe you get a big reveal of exactly what it was. But they sort of wears its heart on its sleeve a little bit, this film, and it just shows you the monster straight. Within 10 minutes of the film, I think we've got the monster. I think there's a lot of stuff going on under the surface of this film that I maybe thought about, not while I was watching it, but maybe just, a few days after. It sort of clung to me a little bit, this film. And just, like, this monster it came as a result of the American just saying to dump all the chemicals down the sink at the very first scene before we got titles and all that. And it just being a sort of product of the way that the humans behave and all that sort of stuff. So, like, I can see all that. I just felt the family were just... It was all just a bit kooky.
Yeah, the dad was a bit over the top. Basically in everything that he did. Now, you get an over the top or you can understand, obviously, with what's going on with the monster, and in particular with his daughter being taken and grabbed. Like, there were moments I liked, like he is trying to take her away from the danger, and I really liked the moment where they fall and he grabs the hand and starts running again, and then realizes that's not his daughter, that's another girl that he had, and then he can see his daughter behind him and the monster approaching, and there's nothing he can do. Like, those moments I liked. And yeah, I maybe found it less frustrating than, when the sort of films you talked about before where, it's either an unknown or there's a monster but you don't see it. And because monster films aren't often my favourite, when there's something weird happening and then I live through an hour and a half only to find that it's some sort of ridiculous monster, that's worse.
Yeah,
I think.
it is. You just laugh and you go, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why I kind of respected this film, because they almost get it out the way. Like, it looks a bit shit, all right, but you'll come to... It's a bit like... it reminded me a little bit of District 12 in that respect. You see the things right up the front, and you can kind of just say, all right, okay, I'll get on board, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all right. It was all right.
Okay.
There was a lot going on, like I say, the sort of underdog story with the dad, and he's kind of a bit of a fuck up, and they're trying to give him a bit of a character arc there. There's obviously the monster, there's the stuff with the government trying to cover things up, and it almost seemed as if there was no... they were kind of trying to introduce like a pandemic aspect to it, weren't they?
Yeah.
And there was a bit of a government conspiracy that there was no actual disease being spread. No, there was a lot going on, and probably too much going on, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and especially when we've not that long gone through a pandemic, and you're seeing these elements. I found that quite interesting, but then I think I wanted there to either be don't do this or mention it, or there is an element and there's something going on, whereas it for it to just be there, I think, as a cover-up idea was a bit like, okay.
Yeah, you don't really need the monster if you're doing that film.
Yeah.
That film's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This was directed by the same director as Parasite. I've never seen it though. Yeah, have you seen it?
I've never actually seen it. It's one of those I'd always planned to watch, and it won an Oscar, didn't it?
Yeah,
and there was a lot of talk about how good a film it was, but I've never actually seen it.
Okay, well, I think we would say the host is not Outlaw recommended.
It was fine, but
it was all right.
That's about it.
Whilst we're talking films, I've got a question for you. Yeah. Have you seen Saltburn?
I have not.
Okay, maybe down the line we'll talk about Saltburn.
Okay, it's on my list, but I don't know. I never feel quite ready to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'll let you know when I have.
Okay, we'll talk about it down the line. There's a rant. There's a rant in there. Okay. We can maybe do a full podcast with just Saltburn stuff. Okay, let's move on to Total Non-Stop Action. I think I said the last time we'll probably be in the Impact Zone for quite some time, and here we are a year on, and we're out of it. We're in Michigan on the 22nd of October, and I really liked... I think whoever worked on the video packages for TNA must have worked for WWF.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah.
I love this opening one. You've got a bit of a comparison between the TNA roster and the city of Detroit over the course of like 100 years. I love how it highlighted so many people that were
Yep.
on this pay-per-view.
Mhm.
And this is what they talk about Christian, Cage and Rhino, two men who came to TNA because they wanted to elevate themselves above mediocrity. Oh,
Yeah.
give me chills.
It hit the emotional aspect really nicely. Like, I was thinking, if you're unsure going into this and you see that, you're bound to be really up for it. You know, it did a really good job.
I don't know if they did this because I'm a bit of a TNA virgin, but I don't really know if they did this for all their pay-per-views or if this was special because this was their tentpole event.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not too sure. But...
So, Mortal Kombat Armageddon presents Bound for Glory 2006. We're back with Mike Tenay and Don West in the booth, and we get lots and lots and lots of fireworks that puts Attitude Era Raw to shame. This is so weird, right? I was lying in bed one night, I couldn't get to sleep, and I was thinking, Mike Tenay's name is TNA. And I was lying thinking about that for quite some time.
Wow.
Like he loves the company that much, it's his name. I know that's weird, but that's just the way the brain works.
Yeah, that's no judgment.
A little bit of trivia. The theme song for this pay-per-view was done by Fozzy. The song is Enemy, which, of course, the lead singer is Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
So, opening contest, scheduled for lots of falls, is the Kevin Nash Open Invitational X Division Gauntlet Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Big Kev comes out in his big baggy suit with his bowling trophy, and then it gets to the commentators and they're like, oh, it is an actual bowling trophy. It's got a bowler on the top of it.
He's just getting paid to show up and have fun, yeah?
He's just, 100%. He's like just pissing about at work on the telly. and Nash came out to Kashmir by Led Zeppelin as well.
Yeah.
Which was,
that wouldn't have been cheap.
Nah. Unbelievable. This seemed to be like this whole pay-per-view is like Gimmick City. I think every match has got some sort of gimmick or stipulation. This seemed to be a way of getting as many people on the card as possible. Again, we talked about the X Division. This is their opportunity to showcase some of the stuff that the X Division can do.
Mm-hmm.
And they also seem to be having a bit of fun with Nash and his involvement with the X Division.
Yeah, there's a few comments as he goes about things he claimed he could do.
Aye. Well, like you say, he's just having fun.
Yeah.
What does he say at one point? He says something outrageous. He's saying things. Oh, that's what it was. It's when we can talk about when we get to Zach Gowen.
Yeah.
So, last pay-per-view, we didn't see Austin Aries, did we? He was on the Dart match.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because they're making a big deal of him here.
Yeah, they've really gimmicked him up. They've sports entertained him.
Austin Starr,
and they must have been doing like a Star is Coming and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. From TV Land, I think they say at one point.
Brilliant.
Right.
Like Mike TV.
Yeah.
It's gimmick infringement for Roald Dahl. That's quite odd. I thought it was odd. I think Austin Aries as a wrestler probably stands on its own. I don't think he needs...
Yeah.
Sometimes guys like this that got a silly gimmick are not the best wrestlers, and it works. Whereas a guy like this doesn't really need that silly gimmick.
Yeah, because they seem to have made him... Like, he's very flamboyant.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I think, taking away from what he can do.
He's got like a sparkly scarf on.
Yeah.
That's Jericho's gimmick. Anyway, Austin Starr is in first. He kicks things off against Sonjay Dutt. We did a battle royal the last time, and it's really difficult to chat about because it's just sort of like, and then
Yeah.
such and such in and such and we don't have to do that with this if you don't want, but we could just sort of touch on some of the different things that happened in it if you want.
Yeah, that's fine. There was I was trying to remember what the guy's name. There's a guy that was in the Triple Threat X Division match, the Ultimate X match, that seemed to have been repackaged. And I think his what were they referring to him as?
Was this Maverick Matt? No, was
Maverick
it
Matt.
Matt
Yeah,
Bentley?
which was Matt Bentley. And there's a big guy, I think, called A1, who does not look like your X Division guy. And
no, he's
there's
in Team Canada, wasn't he?
Yeah. And there's definitely, the fans are definitely chanting, "You can't wrestle." And I was wondering if it was at him, because he was the only guy that I was looking at thinking it would likely be at.
Do you know what? It's exactly A1 that I was thinking of. I was thinking they need to watch, I think, with this. Oh, obviously, this was almost 20 years ago, but I felt like the X Division could very quickly sort of lose its appeal.
Yeah.
Like, it isn't cruiserweight, and it doesn't have to be high flyers. But at the same time, what is it if it's just random guys?
There has to be something special about the guys that are involved in it. And when you're putting in guys that there isn't maybe that quality with, it dilutes it. There's also, this kept going. There were so many people in this. I don't actually know how many there were. It was well over 10.
I counted, I think there was 16. Yeah, 16. And it's kind of a bit like, diluting's the perfect word for it. Now, people like who we got: Sonjay Dutt, Austin Aries, Matt Bentley, Jay Lethal, Frankie Kazarian came in there at one point.
Yeah.
But then there's people like this D-Ray 3000, Norman Smiley.
Yeah.
There was a little person came in at one point. I don't know what was his name. Something Samson? Short sleeve Samson?
Yes. That was it.
They were doing like some sort of, him and Smiley were doing some sort of, I don't know what they were doing.
See, because I like the idea of the X Division being highlighted. But when you're having it, this stuff's taking up time and distraction for viewers as well.
Exactly. We've got a tag team match I think it's a 4-way tag team match. Only a few matches later that gets barely any time. And I just think, like, stick this on the preview or whatever they call the, and give that match time, because I was pretty gutted about that tag team match later on.
And if you wanted to do this, you could have had it on the pre-show. You could have had it 10 entrants, all of them really X Division guys. Make it seem meaningful, worth something. Because the story they seem to be going with is it Alex Shelley that seems aligned with Nash?
Yes.
And he's basically, it's like he's Nash's protege. This match is going to end up in the end putting over Starr as the winner, Austin Starr.
Yep.
And they're kind of doing a whole jealousy thing with Shelley, and Nash is congratulating Starr and, calling him the winner and things like that, and belittling Shelley with that. Because I think it's Starr win by last eliminating Shelley, or it's towards the end anyway, but I think he eliminates him.
Yeah, they were the last three, Jay Lethal, Starr and Shelley.
Right. Yeah.
I really wanted Petey Williams. I wanted him to win it. He's so over. The Canadian Destroyer's like the most over move in the world.
Yeah.
I liked Elix Skipper. He came out and did some pretty impressive stuff. And when Zach Gowen came out, and Zach Gowen's famously the one-legged wrestler, Nash starts doing his John Laurinaitis impression and talking about booking the right one-legged man, which is a total inside joke that people probably wouldn't have understood in 2006.
Yeah. I mean, I only got it because was it in a Jim Ross book or something? Somebody had it in a book.
Yeah, I think it's in JR's book, and Bruce Pritchard's talked about it as well.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Shark Boy. He was in here. There was a lady came in called Serelda.
Yeah.
And she, I looked her up because I was genuinely questioning. I was genuinely questioning that person. At one point I was like, "Is that China?" She kind of looked a bit like China. One of her aliases at one point was Klondike, which is quite an interesting wrestling name. There you go. Like you said, it's interesting because Austin Aries starts number 1 and ends up winning it. So that's probably catapulted him to the top of the X division, or at least as a contender. But you've got Pete Williams there. You've got this thing with Alex Shelley. Jay Lethal looked good in this. Mm-hmm. So I suppose, if nothing else, then you've got a few good-looking contenders.
Yeah, I had no issue with a few of them being in. I can't even remember when it was, but I remember liking Frankie Kazarian, in a few things he's done that I've seen, and I saw him and I thought, oh yeah, it absolutely makes sense that he would have been there at that time. Yeah. I think he became a bit of a staple of TNA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think he's still wrestling. I think he's still in AEW.
Right.
Next we get a cool wee video package about America's Most Wanted, and I think it's LAX. One of the guys from LAX just horribly launches Gail Kim across a ring and must do some damage, folds her up like a deck chair. We've got Jeremy Borash backstage with America's Most Wanted. They're throwing beer about and cutting aggressive promos, which I quite liked, but then they're not facing LAX, which I was just a bit confused about.
There were some things in this I liked. I suppose it's, it gets a wee bit edgy in terms of a bit of racism on the go. But there's some elements of America's Most Wanted that I really like. I don't know why it's such a simple thing, but I really like a catchphrase of "Sorry about your damn luck." I like that.
I like that too,
and it suits them. And I came out of it, wanting to know where we go with those two teams. But as you say, they're not facing each other here.
It's funny. So we've come out of the X Division sort of comedy match with a few that you could. There's a handful that you could say I'd love to see them all in a match together. Their tag team division's pretty stacked.
Yeah.
When you see what we've all got on pay-per-view, we've got a 4-way tag match coming up. The Naturals, who we saw last time, America's Most Wanted, Team 3D, and the James Gang, which is basically New Age Outlaws. Then later on, we've got 2 really impressive tag teams having a brilliant cage match. And when you see this and you look back and you think, like, how did TNA not blow up? This feels like the perfect alternative to WWE. Yeah,
I know that. Obviously, I always wonder, because we know at a point we're going to get this moment where Hogan arrives and Bischoff arrives, and they are going to change direction to some extent because that's inevitable. I feel like they've got quite a good balance here. Like we talked at the last show about how they had TNA guys, guys that hadn't been at another major company for anything significant, and the crowd were with them. We talked Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels. Those guys are still here. You've started to get some star power from elsewhere, but I think it's a nice balance. Whereas I wonder if we're going to see it tipped the wrong way.
Yep.
Yeah,
really interesting, especially when you've got another company in modern times kind of almost looking like it's following almost exactly the same template. Okay, let's get into this 4-way tag match. We get Shane Douglas in the ring. He asks if the crowd if they're ready to get their ass franchise. He's obviously moved away from this backstage happy-go-lucky persona that he had. He introduces the Naturals. So we've, like I said, Naturals versus America's Most Wanted versus Team 3D versus the James Gang. Don't know if they say that the winner is like number 1 contender, but you would have to assume that that's...
Yeah, I think they'd actually said so going into this match, the Naturals have a guaranteed title shot coming up, apparently. But
Right.
yeah, you would assume who the winner of this is going to be in line for a title shot.
Okay. Wait, this was pretty short, disappointingly short, bit chaotic.
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
You know, I had high hopes because I think I wanted it to go a certain way.
Right.
And it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. You've got these two teams that are legendary in there. You've got Team 3D, and you've got the James Gang, teams that have beaten the top one titles everywhere. And then I'm seeing the Naturals and America's Most Wanted, who we saw at the last show, up against each other. Two teams I liked. I liked the look that they had, and I thought, what a brilliant opportunity to have one of them get the pinfall win on one of the legendary teams.
Yep.
And it didn't go that way. I thought it was there, and it would have. Taking a defeat isn't going to hurt a Team 3D or a James Gang, but it could have, in the eyes of not regular viewers, I think it could have elevated the team that they chose to beat them. So I was just a bit disappointed in the way it was done.
Yeah, 100% the same. First line that I've wrote my notes here is America's Most Wanted better win this. Like you say, like especially in the sort of chaos of how many guys is in the ring? Eight men.
Yeah.
Here, you could easily get a win for one of the lesser known teams without it being, doesn't even need to be clean.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does feel like a bit of a lost opportunity, because for me, America's Most Wanted, easily the most, I don't know what the word is. Like, I love the look of them, and I like their gimmick, and they're good in the ring. Like, the whole package of them is the best here, I think.
It's like they shouldn't have a ceiling. They should be able to be, in the semi-main event matches and a big star team that you're building and working with. And on the other side of that, I didn't really feel it with Team 3D. I thought they were fine. I found something really sad about watching the Outlaws as they are here. I don't know why. Obviously, I don't. Road Dogg's not in the shape he once was. Billy Gunn still looks in great shape, but like to have been where they were and seeing them here, if they're not in a role that's elevating someone, which they're kind of inconsequential in terms of the outcome of the match, but I just found it a wee bit sad seeing them like this,
especially when they're called Kip and BG James, and they're having to do a bit of a rubbish looking gimmick, and you're just like, well, that's the Outlaws, and we love the Outlaws.
Yeah, and it's not at them. It's, I think, the way they're being used, and they're just almost like a lost in the shuffle team.
Just another team. Aye.
Yeah.
And I did feel a wee bit. I didn't think that Bubba Ray looked great here.
Yeah.
And they're doing the WhatsApps and all that, and I get it. You get a crowd pop and all that.
Yeah.
But I think if somebody goes from somewhere like WWF into somewhere like TNA, like, do something new. Like, someone like Jericho's obviously made a career out of that.
Yeah.
And it works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes. Like Daniel Bryan took the yes chant and turned it into no, and completely turned it on its head, and I think they could have done something different. Go back to like his brother Devon thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, but
something.
Aye, instead of playing the greatest hits sort of thing.
Because they do end up. I think Bubba Ray becomes like quite a big solo heel. Obviously, it's probably quite a bit on from where we are just now. I just think there was better ways of using them, ways of making the most of what you had. I do understand it because they're still
it's
a big
name. And
yeah.
I've never seen any of this sort of Bully Ray run, and I know he had his own faction and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Never seen any of that. I would like to.
Yeah, I've heard it spoken of quite highly. It'd be interesting to have a look at what he did.
We jump to the end.
Yeah.
Team 3D 3D and one of the Naturals after he inadvertently hit his own partner, and Team 3D win. And they look like they're going with some sort of storyline with what's his name, Shane Douglas, and he's berating the Naturals and all that. Naturals are out of the company within a few months. They're gone.
Oh, wow.
Which is surprising, actually, because they seemed like they were one of these sort of homegrown teams that they were going to get behind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Jeremy Borash is backstage. He is outside Samoa Joe's dressing room. For some reason, Jake the Snake Roberts saunters up behind him and offers to show him his snake. Jake is talking about if you get a snake in your hand and play with it for a while, it gets bigger and all this sort of innuendo.
Yep.
He's incredibly creepy at this point. I think my link to Jake Roberts from here would be having watched Beyond the Mat and seen all the crazy stuff that's happened in his family, and then seeing him doing this, and you just be like, what on earth? Yeah.
When he was at his best in WWE, he did creepy, but it was more like sinister rather than creepy.
Yeah, psychological sort of.
Yeah, whereas this, I don't know, there's kind of nothing there. It's just cringe.
It was like a creepy old man talking about his cock.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's talking about being the ref in the Monsters Ball match, kind of, we think. And that runs us into a promo package for the Monsters Ball match between Samoa Joe, Raven, Abyss, and Brother Runt.
Yeah.
Were you aware of the name Brother Runt?
Yeah.
Were you?
I was. So when it was said, I thought, yeah. But there was another thing that crossed my mind as well, which is, he's going to get a hell of an ass kicking. Because I was thinking, there's only one reason he's in this.
Mm-hmm. He's like getting the Jeff Hardy spots without being able to do cool stuff. So we've still got a streak going for Samoa Joe at this point. So we're a year on and he's still undefeated, which is interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think? You were a bit on the fence with the last Monsters Ball, weren't you? What do you think of this one?
Yeah, this I think is where I think because they leaned so heavy into the story the last time they haven't had food and water. You know, they weren't talking quite as much about that kind of thing when we're coming out here. I didn't dislike the purpose of having the match, which is, you know, we are where we are with Joe. The crowd, I think it was at the elimination match at the last show, to determine who was going to get the title shot that night. They seemed to have a real interest in seeing some Joe and Abyss stuff. I remember when they had their face off, there was a pop for it. I think there's a few things took me out of it. I could have done without Jake being involved, completely without it. What did you think of the Raven Hannibal Lecter mask?
Nah, I really like Raven, but I feel like the way that you talked about the Outlaws, that's how I feel about Raven here.
Yeah,
he looks really stiff.
Yeah,
and in pain almost. The mask just seemed random, not part of his gimmick, and it seemed like, this would be a cool thing to wear, and
he didn't seem like he should have been wrestling. He seemed out of shape. He seemed beat up, and he will have been getting old at that point. But I think we've gone beyond me wanting to see him involved in a match.
Same.
Now.
I think he, and this is all very well and good for us to Monday morning quarterback it, whatever, 17 years on, but give him some sort of role where he can be a mouthpiece for some young up and coming sinister character.
I liked the references to Joe and Angle because so Kurt Angle's here, but he's not going to be in a match, but he's going to feature later on as a enforcer
And they've had when Angle was unveiled on the episode Impact before this pay-per-view, I think either Joe came out and Angle headbutted him, and they had to be pulled apart and all that.
Yeah, so they're selling that. Joe's got like a bandage on his brow, and Joe comes out and just starts attacking everyone, and everyone knows you're going to Joe and Angle. It's there, so you're going to be doing it. So I think making Joe look strong makes absolute sense. I think you kind of have to do that. I did feel like watching this, if you hadn't had the Angle stuff, I would have been like, have things moved on for Joe the way it felt like they should have off the back of the last show? Is it gone a bit stagnant? But at least the Angle stuff's there in the background. So it's almost like, I don't know, getting this out the way, have him go over in transition. The match. Yeah, and then you can move him on to where you want to go with him. I assume it's probably one of those where you had a long-term plan for Joe that didn't feature Angle, and then you've somehow managed to sign Kurt Angle, and you're like, oh, right, okay, we need to pivot. I wonder if they maybe didn't believe they were ever going to actually sign Kurt Angle, so they've got Joe in his storyline, and then it's like, oh God, we've got Kurt Angle. This is such an obvious way to go with him. Let's just finish this up with Joe. Just get it over and done with, and then move on.
I think you're right. I think Joe has to come out the winner. It's funny that the Monsters Ball is Abyss's match, and that's two we've seen, and two he's not won. And at some point, I guess his character can pretty much get away with. They can do whatever they want to his character, really, can't they? It's not a type of character where you're going to be like, oh, I don't believe he's going to be able to do anything to anybody. He's a huge guy. Yeah. There's a great spot in this. I guess it had to be pre-planned, but Abyss picks up Runt, Spike Dudley, and throws him in the crowd, and a guy catches him and throws him back. Yep.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, and I put in my notes, was there a plant in there? Was that, is this just a guy that's caught him? But surely not.
It's amazing.
Yeah. There were some decent moments in this. There's a move, I've definitely seen Joe do it before, and I don't quite know how he does it, but he does like a dive over the ropes and kind of corkscrews onto them and lands on his feet.
Yeah. I've got it described as a cannonball, a human cannonball, but corkscrew's a good way of describing it. It's brilliant, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just, I don't know, it suits him because he's able to just kind of swagger his way away from it, having done it. Out. Yeah.
We never really got an opportunity for them to sell to us that Raven's mask was like possible of doing damage. Yeah. Because he hits Joe in the head with it, which results in him falling off the ramp, and he ends up landing on the concrete and through a table. Yeah. We get a spot where Spike, Runt, and Abyss are climbing up scaffolding, and Abyss dives off and dives off the scaffolding onto Spike, but the cameraman's too busy looking at Jake Roberts that we actually miss it.
The thing that I enjoyed most about that was James Mitchell appears right next to them after it, and he's just maniacally laughing at what just happened.
Amazing. In the last Monsters Ball match, did we get tags?
I don't remember seeing them. Maybe.
I can't remember them. Abyss doesn't seem to have the greatest of luck with him, does he?
No, because they make it sound like it's a signature thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
Jake is trying to get him to not open the bag and threatens with the opening of his own bag, which obviously is going to have a snake in it. But yeah, Raven just attacks Jake, and
that's weird.
Yeah.
Jake gets his retribution by hitting a DDT on him later on, and that leads to the finish, I believe.
Yeah.
Joe hits a muscle buster on Raven after he's been DDT'd by Jake, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
Jake and Raven in their respective primes would be a good feud. Eh?
Yeah, I think you'd get some great promos.
Some
and
weird stuff.
Yeah. I always wonder, like, Raven, if he'd had the right, he wasn't. I don't think he was prominent enough when he got to WWE for a while for them to pay all that much attention to him. He always felt like he was just kind of there in hardcore matches.
An extreme guy, aye.
Yeah, but I wonder if he'd got to WWE at the right time and someone there, had taken a big interest in him, how that could have gone.
Mm-hmm. And I think he was strangely used in WCW. Mm-hmm. It's almost like, yes, that you had very similar, what I would say, is to the Straight Edge Society, that maybe had its fans and all that, but it was, sort of considered maybe a mid-card type thing. Okay, back to this. We've got Jeremy Borash backstage with Eric Young, who last time we saw him a year ago, he was just a good wrestler in Team Canada. Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah? Now he seems to be a bit of a simpleton. He's very nervous about his match. He's fighting against Larry Zbyszko. For some reason, Larry's very angry. He's like, in this TNA run, his blood pressure must be questionable.
So angry.
He cuts a promo on poor Eric Young and calls him a nitwit. Yeah. Do you think this was like, let's give them something to cool them down before we get
maybe?
Do you know,
there was a way of doing this Eric Young thing that I think I would have enjoyed, where he's, terrified of this idea of losing his job. He's nervous, he can't concentrate, he can't focus and all that. But they've made him an imbecile.
Uh-huh.
They didn't have to go that way with it. He could have just been a guy that is genuinely shit scared of losing his job.
He did. That's so funny you say that, because I think I'm now realising that's why he was so nervous.
Well, I don't know if it was just that, because the indication was, to me anyway, that he'd maybe been like this for a wee while.
This was his character.
Nervous guy, and they feel like you're going to get fired if you don't win this match. Poor guy. And this is this the first mention of Cornette here as well?
Because I think
I was taken a bit by surprise. I didn't realise he was involved here until I think So he is like above Zbyszko, and deciding this match had to take place, and it kind of seems like he wants to put Zbyszko in his place because he's been taken advantage of his position by the sounds of it.
Yeah, this is all kinds of weird, and it kind of annoyed me, but I don't think it went long enough to... if they continued doing the crowd work that they were doing, I was going to fast forward, because it's like, all right, okay, lots of crowd work between these two. We've seen Zbyszko a few times now. We don't mind him. Don't mind him at all. He's old school at the core. They probably could have put on a good wrestler match, but they're certainly going for sort of comedy stuff here. It's very short. We get an abdominal stretch by Zbyszko, and he ends up hitting the referee, gets a knucks out, misses. Eric Young gets a brass knucks and gets the win. And he gets to celebrate and keep his job. It's all a bit dafty.
Yeah. The crowd pop for him winning.
That's fair.
Kind of give the impression he's one of their guys, so they wanted him to get the win.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like if that wasn't like some of the WCW bad that we've seen. To be fair, all of that stuff. So if that was bad, what was this next bit? Take us through this next thing that happens.
So do we go from here to Cornette coming to the ring?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Cornette's coming out to the ring.
Happy red face.
When I first heard his voice, though, I thought, he's not getting through this promo. So he's sick. His throat is sounding very sore, very strained. He talks about Angle and Joe and says that they will have the opportunity to sort their problems out soon, but if Joe interferes in the title match tonight, he will be removed from the TNA roster. This is strong words from Cornette. I get a feeling he would have got a job elsewhere, but anyway. Kurt Angle comes out, and he is looking full-on psycho wrestling machine.
My
here.
God. My notes say in capital letters, Angle's neck is fucking massive. I've never seen a neck that big.
I love this Kurt Angle. He talks about hearing the music, seeing the people, hearing the people, wanting to come out and kick some ass. This is why he came to TNA. He very much refers to it as the best company in the world. TNA is best, screw the rest, and you know who I'm talking about.
Pew, pew.
He says he'll do a great job as a referee, but does not need a buffer to keep Joe away from him. And then Joe's music hits, and I love this.
Oh, this is just absolute dream booking. You didn't get. I don't know if you get stuff like this in WWE. Probably do. Probably just being rose tinted, but it just does the best possible job. This is like a huge UFC event, and two people who don't like each other start going at it at the weigh-ins, and you're just like, I can't wait for tomorrow night to see that match, see that fight.
Yeah, this is as good. No, it's the best that I've ever seen this kind of thing done.
Me too.
Because we've seen it done. We've seen, pull apart brawls, people charging at each other, that kind of thing. We've seen it plenty of times.
It's normally quite lame.
I don't think I've ever watched and believed that these two guys wanted to tear each other to pieces. And I don't know, it seems perfect. You've got Joe, who, as we've talked about, is like the homegrown talent. He's been elsewhere on indies and all that, but he's their guy. This is the biggest spotlight he's had. And you've got Kurt Angle, who's coming from the biggest wrestling company and who has been or certainly one of the top stars at that company. It's all working out perfectly, and I love this segment. I just think I cannot think of a way it could have been done better.
Yeah, totally agree. Like I said, a lot of time when you get two wrestlers and they supposedly desperately want to go at each other, it can be really lame, and it takes me back to the Survivor Series that just happened there before the turn of the year, and Michael Cole was holding Seth Rollins back from getting to CM Punk. We've got hundreds of security and hundreds of refs and everything, and they still can't stop these two fidgets. It's just amazing. They just keep getting to each other, not in a silly sort of pantomime way, but in a genuine Daniel Cormier and John Jones type way where they want to fight each other.
Yeah. So I do have in my notes, we're going to miss it.
Yeah.
Because we're going year by year, and this is the best build-up that I've ever seen for a potential match. And then we're going to miss it because we're jumping to the next Bound for Glory.
But we're not. We've decided we're not. We're going to take a little pit stop, and the next pay-per-view that we watch will be Genesis, which will be Angle versus Joe.
So you had watched this before I did, and you'd messaged me saying that we potentially needed to have a bit of a chat after I had watched the event. And I thought it was that thing where I'm watching it thinking I'm watching it second. What if I don't even pick up on what he means or what he's on about? As soon as I saw this segment, I was 100% sure what you were meaning.
At first, after I messaged you, I was thinking, oh no, he's going to think that I want to pack in the TNA already. Which wouldn't be unheard of or unlike me. Just, like if you... So this pay-per-view, I meant to say this at the start, this pay-per-view's on YouTube. Impact or TNAs are now back to being called. I've posted a lot of their events on YouTube. If you don't want to sit down and watch a full TNA pay-per-view, then this is. I'll put the link within the show description. If you get a chance, watch this. It's absolutely tremendous.
Yes.
Okay. Quite weird and surreal to see Cornette and Kurt Angle in the same ring.
Yeah, I imagine Cornette would love him, but I don't know. I just imagine he would.
I think so. I kind of think hearing him talking about him.
Much as he has done comedy, it's never been in match comedy.
Aye, or taken away
takes
from
it seriously in the ring.
Aye,
yeah.
Aye. I'm sure Cornette's gone. I wonder if he'll be gone by the next Bound for Glory, because they bring Russo back in round about this time.
Right.
I think he has enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next that really, really was brilliant. Like, and I know we're laying on thick, but I genuinely can't say enough. Like that is that segment is amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing. Proper gets the blood flowing.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, our next match is for the X Division Championship. It's Chris Sabin against he's called Senshi here. I knew him previously. It's Loki. I think he's been in Ring of Honor and roundabouts. He's never been WWF or anything, has he? Loki?
I think he got brought in and then never really used, and then left. Yeah, I don't think he was there long at all.
He's good. He's really good.
Yeah.
He does sort of. If you look at him and see him wrestle, you kind of think like that's the kind of guy that comes from Ring of Honor. I don't know, but I don't know what I mean by that. But that is what I think of. He's really good, and I really enjoyed this match. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. The only problem I think I had with it was it followed what just happened with Angle and Joe, which is a very hard thing to follow. Even though it wasn't a match, it's a hard thing to follow. I enjoyed the match. I thought, they were telling the story about... They kind of gave the impression Sabin has been there quite a while, tried, maybe just fallen short quite a few times. He's... I think they mentioned he's from the area the show's in. I think he's like the hometown boy.
Yes, because Sabin is Sabin and Alex Shelley that are the Motor City Machine Guns, isn't it?
So Detroit area, obviously. There's a good moveset. The two of them both know how to execute and sell moves. The Loki Senshi, when we talked before about guys not really knowing, does this fit X Division? He fits X Division.
100%.
He's the perfect kind of guy to have involved here.
I wonder if Loki and Ricochet ever had a match on the Indies somewhere.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be a cool match.
Yeah. They seem to be setting up quite a few times that Sabin's buddies, Jay Lethal and Sonjay Dutt, were likely to get involved, and I just kept expecting some sort of screwy finish, but it never really happened, I don't think. I think they come out after the event, but I don't think they come out during the match. There's some really good move sequences between the two of them. I enjoyed the match, thought it was good.
Yeah, there's a cool bit. There's a lot going on here. At one point, Loki's Senshi is doing a cartwheel and Sabin drop kicks him whilst he's in the middle of the cartwheel, which is really cool. Yeah. If you listen to the show, I don't like a cartwheel during a match, but that's all right if it's being drop kicked. There's at one point Senshi hits double foot stomp from the top rope. The height and the hang time he seems to get is unbelievable.
I couldn't work out how that wouldn't be incredibly painful.
Yeah. You see Finn Balor do that as well. Like, my kid's done that to me plenty. It's not fun, so I can't imagine it's fun taken from a grown man. How do we finish? How did they end up finishing this? Oh, there's a great spot. Senshi Sabin goes for a top rope Hurricane Rana, and
Yes.
Senshi reverses it into a powerbomb, which
Yes.
is very cool.
Yeah, that was good.
How do we finish? Dragon Sleeper by Senshi, Sabin reverses it into a small package.
Yeah.
And he kicks out at like 3.1 as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
To the point where I wasn't actually that sure if the referee had made a mistake, and it definitely wasn't a 3. It's a good way of keeping both guys strong.
Yeah.
And keeping the X division strong as well.
We had Sonjay Dutt and Jay Lethal came down to celebrate with him, which was fine. They'd mentioned them in the match, but then Jerry Lynn came down as well.
He looked like a proud papa.
He did, but again, I've maybe watched too much WCW. I was expecting the swerve, and it didn't happen.
He pulls out his mask from when he was that guy in WCW. That's funny, because I remember thinking the same, and then the commentary team said something about him looking really happy or something like that, and it never came.
Yeah. It's a good match, though. It was entertaining. I think it was a lot to try and follow the segment before it, but with it being so different, it was an entertaining match. I think they got the balance quite good of they were selling the impactful moves. It wasn't just one thing after the other. I think they made the move sets by the opponent seem meaningful, which is what you want.
Yeah, 100%. Are you trying to bait me into a rant about modern wrestling?
I couldn't. I tend not to watch any.
Well, you've just described exactly what happens. Okay, we're back. Jeremy Borash getting a lot of airtime.
Yeah,
with his highlighted blonde hair. Jeremy Borash is backstage with Christian Cage. He's never changed, does he? He's just
love that.
He's great. He cuts a promo on Detroit. I think at this point there's a World Series games must be going on, and the Detroit Tigers must be in it. And I've lost the game the night before, so Christian's calling them a bunch of losers and all that sort of stuff. He starts taking shots at Rhino's aunt's cooking. I quite liked it. They were leaning into the fact that these two had their careers are intertwined and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they showed like what looked like a really old picture of the two of them together. And obviously they have, I think, crossed paths quite a lot over the years. Because I remember even when Rhino came into WWE, they played on that. They had him aligned with Edge and Christian.
Is Rhino Canadian?
I don't actually know.
Never mind. He's never joined a Team Canada that we've ever seen. So how are we to expect that he's not?
I did. One thing I noticed, because much as I don't watch anything current, you sometimes send me clips, and sometimes they're of Christian promos nowadays. I think here he's maybe not quite found his heel voice. Like, he's saying really entertaining things, but they're maybe not. I don't know. He doesn't quite have it.
There's no venom in him.
Yeah, he's got it in him to be entertaining, but I don't know that he's quite got that heel edge to him. But he seems to nowadays. But I still was very entertained by the stuff he was saying and the way he was saying it.
You were waiting for him to say, "Rhino, I'm sorry to hear about your father." Do you know, I was a bit gutted that this was a street fight. When they said that this was going to be an 8 Mile Road street fight. And then I was like, are they doing some sort of, like, is Christian going to start rapping or something? Because that's not the Christian I wanted to see. Thankfully, didn't. I did like... Rhino can be Canadian, because they're talking about him growing up in Detroit, weren't they?
They are, yeah.
And he's talking about... Go on.
Yeah, this is played off as being like his hometown match. I did have to try and think to myself what exactly an 8 Mile street fight was, because it seemed like just a street fight. Mm-hmm. But the thing that made me laugh, they had some music in the build that was very much sounded like a knockoff version of 8 Mile, and I thought, is that the one thing they couldn't spring for because they'd spent all the money on the other music?
They spent all the money on Big Kev's Kashmir. Class. Something peculiar here is they introduce Christian. I love Christian's TNA music. It's great. They introduce Christian, and he's walking through the locker area a la Goldberg. Then they introduce Rhino, and Rhino comes out.
Yeah,
that's quite odd. But it's I guess it's to have Rhino then go look for him backstage and kick off the street fight backstage. They're doing a lot of wrestling in the dark, which appears to be in the sort of guerrilla position, which is not ideal.
Yeah.
What do you think of their match overall?
I wanted to just see them have a regular match. I think it would have been really interesting because you've got obviously the power of Rhino, who's like this terrifying man. You've got Christian, accomplished wrestler, always sort of comes across as quite intelligent, sneaky. And I thought they could have a brilliant in-the-ring normal match between the two of them. There's a lot going on. There's there's a Zamboni being driven around with Christian on it. There's a street lamp prop that gets used a couple of times. I can't remember if it's that one, but there's one I've never seen anything look more like foam when somebody hits someone with it. These aren't my favourite types of match, and I ended up really wanting them to just have a regular match.
Yeah, but it takes us a good while before the first wrestling move gets pulled out. I think we get a belly to belly or something like that by Rhino, but like you said, there's Zambonis, there's chairs, ladders, tables, straight jacket. I like the straight jacket. That was.
I thought it was going to play into the finish. I was a little bit disappointed that it didn't because I've not seen that before.
Yeah. And that was going back to your not a pun. There's the edge that you want to see for Christian. There's the sinisterness. You want to. Is it right to say you want to see him in a straight jacket and get leathered in the head with a steel chair?
Yeah. I mean, yes, in a way. However, chair shots to the head aren't fun.
It made me immediately when he pulled it out and he put it on him. It made me think Foley at Royal Rumble '99 and Rock just going mad with the chair with the handcuffs behind the back. I thought that's where he's going.
Yeah.
But he puts him in a straight jacket and tries to get the concerto, doesn't he, and misses.
Yeah, Rhino ends up headbutting him in the nuts, and the ref helps him out of the straight jacket. And then I think we're not far from the finish, which again was my frustration that they didn't go with that. I wanted the straight jacket on at the finish.
Love that.
And
a gore with the straight jacket on.
Oh, because he does go for the gore, but Christian sidesteps him, and there's a table that Rhino's had set up in the corner that Rhino goes flying into, but he kicks out of that. Kicks out of that at 2. There's an unprettier on the underside of the table for another 2.
Yeah, it's quite messed up, that.
Yeah.
On the bit of broken table.
And then Christian piles all these metal objects on top of Rhino and starts. I don't think we mentioned at the start of this. They talk about Rhino coming into this with a concussion because of a previous Christian attack. So there's all these objects on top of Rhino, and Christian just starts slightly maniacally hitting a chair onto all these objects that are piled on Rhino. And that's the win for Christian.
I was quite surprised that got the 3. I don't know where I thought they were going with it.
Yeah.
Where do you go with it after that? Not really got potential to go now.
I mean, I thought missing the gore into the table and prettier onto a table, that could have been a finish. Everyone would have been all right with that.
Yeah. I've got my notes here. Finally, he gets the 3. Christian wins, but at what cost? I assume the commentary team said that, and I wasn't just doing some sort of psychological dissection of Christian.
I think this is all you. What has he become?
Back to our boy Borash. He's backstage with LAX and Conan. We talked about how good the Angle and Samoa Joe whole thing was. This might be one of my favourite. It's very sort of run-of-the-mill and generic, but this might be one of my favourite promos I've ever seen. Just Conan going off in Spanish whilst these 2 menacing-looking Latino characters behind him just stare at the camera is absolutely amazing.
these are bad men. Like,
Totally.
that's what came across to me. Like
straight off of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
yes. Like, you would not want to run into this group of guys. I think they're very derogatory in the way they speak about Gail Kim, but okay. And I think it was actually, they come across brilliantly. They come across the exact way they need to come across, which is these terrifying characters that are going to do whatever it takes to come out on top. And they come across as having a massive chip on their shoulder as well. And Conan is like driving that home to them that they should have this chip on their shoulder, which I liked. I thought that meant he was serving a really good purpose within the group.
Yep.
And I think when everything was, you remember the package at the start, I couldn't decide how I felt about, because they're about to face AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, who are the tag team champions here. And I couldn't decide how I felt about that, because we'd watched them have a really good match, an Iron Man 30-minute 1-0 to AJ Styles. And I was thinking about it in like two ways. Like, I kind of wanted to know how they had then come together. Was it a respect thing? Was it like, I think the packages they did were really good, but obviously we haven't watched anything for a year, and I found myself thinking, I wonder how this happened, because I like the idea of them as a team.
They felt a bit two-man power trippy, but like in a different way, like two of the best coming together and just running roughshod. I felt the same. Because I think I said to you the last time after we've seen that Iron Man match, I hope in a year's time these two are vying for the title of some description. And I did not expect them to be a tag team champions.
No, not at all. Yeah.
But it works. 100% works.
Yeah.
Just the only drawback about Conan's passionate promo is that he offers to give them a Dirty Sanchez, and in return he'll take a rusty trombone.
Yeah.
Why does he say that?
I think he's probably been speaking to Jake.
Yeah. That noise works for Vince and Jake, apparently. We get, again, a brilliant video package for the build-up to this match. You get the impression that these two teams are willing to take it wherever it needs to go, especially LAX. I think that sort of, I don't think you get this if it was just AJ Styles or just Christopher Daniels, but the fact they're together, I don't know what it is, but it just ramps everything up altogether.
Yeah.
Brilliant package.
Yeah.
And the match is a 6 sides of steel match, which is a TNA staple, and obviously that's essentially a steel cage match. I wondered if America's Most Wanted might come into play somewhere. They're obviously looking for retribution for Gail Kim, but thankfully it doesn't come to that, and it's pretty much the 3 versus 2 with Conan on the outside, doing what he does. What do you think of the match?
I really enjoyed it. I thought, I didn't know an awful lot about LAX, like either person in the team. I thought they were a really good combination. Is Hernandez is the really big guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was terrifying. Some of the things he was doing in the ring. I think really interesting what you touched on, because the video package showing how far they're willing to go to get what they want. But I like the story of Daniels and Styles getting there themselves.
Yep.
Like, we're obviously these elite wrestlers who can wrestle anyone, but what they're driven to in the ring, seeing them get there where actually now we're willing to do anything, whatever it takes to come out on top here. Really enjoyed this. I like the 6 sides of steel. Like, I think it's, again, just from a gimmick point of view, I like, the idea of that on your poster, 6 sides of steel. It sounds different. It's not something, WWE could put on their poster. And I think we've talked in the past about maybe cage matches, Hell in a Cell, and things like that, maybe being a bit, how did we get here? Why are we at this stage already? That kind of thing. It makes absolute sense that this match was taking place in this. This worked really well for me. I was a big fan of the match.
I think the 6 Sides of Steel feels a lot more like, oh, you're locked in here with me, than a steel cage does. Steel cage feels like it's there to be climbed on and to jump off, and you can climb out the steel cage to win. I don't think they even hinted at that. I got the impression it was submission or pin. I don't even there must have been a ref in there with them, but I can't actually remember.
There was.
Was there? Because they did to start off with. They did traditional tag rules, and eventually it broke down. But again, I quite liked that. They're in there, but they stuck to the rules until such time as it broke down, and then it went not chaotic, but just violent with the fork and the coat hanger. The fact that Conan was hanging off Christopher Daniels with a steel coat hanger around his neck was horrible.
Yeah.
It was concerning me, genuinely. And I like what you said as well, like AJ Styles, you don't consider, especially the AJ Styles that we saw last time, you don't think of him as taking a fork to someone. He would do a 450 splash on you, but he's not. But he's there, and they take him there. I loved it as well. I'd say I enjoyed it as much as I did the Daniels AJ Styles match the last time.
Yeah, and the thing I really liked about it, you've got Daniels and Styles who, for whatever reason have come together. They've obviously been a successful team. They've won the titles. You can kind of go wherever you want with them at the end of this. You can keep them as a team. They could have a rematch. That would make sense. But you can also split them up. You've got 2 single stars there that this hasn't hurt. This hasn't harmed them in the credibility in terms of the fans' eyes at all. If anything, I think it's shown a different side of them, an aggressive side. And you can, put them in a singles run, either one of them or both of them. And you know that you have Homicide and Hernandez, LAX with Conan as a team that you can go down the America's Most Wanted route, because as I say, having seen what we've seen in this show, I now want to see that. I want to see those teams going up against each other. I thought all in the ring and in terms of story and logic of where you could go next, I thought it all made sense and was really good.
I think I've never been excited for like a full package of a tag team with the manager and all that, like LAX, for watching wrestling in quite a long time, and just being so taken aback by how awesome their whole package was. And then I was glad that they got in the ring and they were good as well. Don't recall if I've ever seen Homicide wrestling before. Not was he in WCW?
Not that I remember, but I don't know for sure.
Aye, brilliant. So, what did we? So there's a good couple of spots where the couple of guys came off the top of the cage, but it didn't feel contrived, like they were waiting to get there. It happened almost organically. Horrible, sort of scary looking. A couple of scary looking spots. I think Hernandez power bombs. Does he power bomb Christopher Daniels off the side of the cage, or right from the very top of it?
Yeah. So I think you've got AJ at the top of the cage. Homicide has followed him, and Daniels is like under Homicide, and then Hernandez power bombs Daniels, which throws the other
Brings
two.
Homicide with
throws
them.
Homicide off. AJ stays up, and then does a leaping crossbody off the top, which looked amazing. Like, it's like he was somehow moving in slow motion.
Oh, it's
it looks
crazy.
Ridiculous.
Like, to be up that high and he jumps up into it, as opposed to comes down from it. Then Hernandez, the biggest guy in the match, goes to the top of it and hits a splash off the top. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Really cool. How did we... the winner... what is the name of that move? Shane Helms used to do it in WCW. You know, he's got the guy sort of upside down on his back, and he falls to the floor on his bum, and if the guy doesn't tuck his head, he's got a broken neck.
Yes.
Horrible looking move. It looked great.
Yeah.
And LAX get the clean win. You've got the titles on them, and like you say, you can go wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy to think that you've got AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Kurt Angle, Christian, Samoa Joe, Sting.
Yeah.
It's packed.
Brilliant.
Okay. Listen to how enthusiastic we are about wrestling. It's amazing. We get some a video package of Sting and Jeff Jarrett. They've not done a lot of talking about this match.
No.
Throughout the pay-per-view. I've got my notes that some pretty weird and creepy shots of Sting, but I don't actually remember what they were like, so I can't talk about that.
Okay. I don't have anything about that. I do have something about, so Sting must have said that he joined TNA to get rid of Jeff Jarrett.
Okay.
And I was thinking he just hated that WCW pay-per-view just as much as we did. Blamed Jarrett for the whole thing.
Just a million. Imagine they did that to us. Loads of more fake Stings just appearing for everything. I thought this was... They did some really interesting stuff for this match. So you've got the aspect of Kurt Angle's your special enforcer. So really difficult for him not to overshadow this match as it is. He's the biggest star. They make a big deal of Sting, which is great, and Sting comes out looking amazing. He's got this sort of half crow, half surfer face paint, which looks really cool. I wish he'd done that. For sort of like the remainder of his career, it looks great.
Yeah.
But they also did this thing where Sting had taken a couple of months. They said that Sting's taken a couple of months off to get in the best shape of his life because he really wants to win the title. He wants to beat Jeff Jarrett. And then for the first quarter of the match, Jarrett, who is ring ready versus a ring rusty Sting, completely outfoxes Sting.
Yeah.
Which is just clever.
Yeah, it made sense. Yeah. It's so surprising when things make sense.
We're not used to it. I really liked it. And Jarrett's full of confidence. Sting's looking rusty. You don't normally see the heel outfox the face in the way that these two have been presented. You wouldn't expect to see that. You'd expect to see the other way about and Jarrett getting annoyed and whatnot. But yeah, I really loved that aspect of it.
Yeah. It was I was not, when it got to this, I wasn't enthusiastic. I didn't feel like I needed to see another Jeff Jarrett and Sting match.
We've seen one, and one was enough.
Yeah. There is that, there's something, Jarrett on top in TNA, to me, always made more sense than Jarrett on top in WCW. I mean, I know he's, basically the biggest player behind the scenes, so I suppose it's no surprise they reference how many title runs he's had and how much time on top he's actually had in the company. Sting coming in, obviously, as this marquee signing, this legend, this one guy that hasn't gone to WWE. He's still, at this point, never been in WWE. And he's, I think, Sting makes sense as a special attraction. He's he's in the title match here, and we know how it's going to finish. But I have absolutely no issue with the idea of him being off the TV and the shows for quite a while, and then being in a big match. The Kurt Angle element again. Do you remember we basically chat all over it when we talked about Bret Hart coming into WCW and they had him as a referee in a match, and we're like, what a waste of a Bret Hart. They've got Kurt Angle here as an enforcer in a match when he's a relatively new signing, but We know what his story is. We've had it on the show. We've already given you that. So I think it's fine.
Yep.
He's here as an enforcer. He's going to do a job. He's going to end up, involved to some extent. But there's not the frustration of, oh God, what are they going to do with him? Because we know.
Yes. And they've addressed why Samoa Joe wouldn't be there to attack him as well.
Yeah.
So there's no sort of loose things for you to pull at as all these things are happening, and it also gets Angle over in a way where it doesn't really affect the two guys in the ring. And the story that they use to do that is that both guys have been going at each other in the match, Jarrett and Sting. The referee's doing the count out whilst both guys are down. He gets to 9 and he's about to signal for a double count out with neither man getting to their knees by 10. Angle jumps in the ring, grabs the ref's arm before he can get to 10. I think he angle slams the referee, rips his top off and says, like, let's get it on, keep it going, we're not stopping the match. And like, for the fans that are there, that's just amazing. He's stopping this match for coming to this rubbish conclusion. Yeah. It was, again, really well done, I think.
Yeah, I think from there, where do we go? Got Jarrett trying a pile driver, Sting countering into a tombstone for a 2. Sting climbing to the top, Jarrett hits a low blow, Angle has a word, gives him a shove. Jarrett locking in the figure of 4, Sting turning it. Jarrett with the ankle lock, and he's like doing it at Angle. He's like in his face about the fact he's put the ankle lock on.
Angle looks disgusted as well. I like that.
It does. Sting rolling through, sending Jarrett to the floor. Sting gets his baseball bat. Angle stops him, grabs the end of it. Quite like the fact Sting points it at Angle as he's shoving him. And then guitar shot by Jarrett on Sting. And I'm thinking, it's not going to be a DQ, is it? Sting immediately no-sells it and hulks up, or does his version of hulking up, gets the Scorpion Deathlock on, and Jarrett submits, and that's it.
Immediately, when he no-sells a guitar shot, I had horrible flashbacks to that WCW match where he no-selled the guitar shot, then got hit again, and that was enough to put him down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, they're going back to that. Surely no.
There's I was also, it wouldn't have made sense to do it. I had the brief fear of, is Angle going to do something, and they actually play on it, is Angle going to do something, because he grabs the belt, but he does just hand it over to Sting. He's, that's fine, because he's got other things to deal with, Angle.
Yeah, like, for what it was for a Jeff Jarrett title match, it was good. Like, appreciate the stories that were going on. They did a good job of getting Angle in there without him getting in the way, so to speak, and get Sting over huge. Sting's a new champion. I did think at some point both these guys looked absolutely knackered towards the end of the match. From what I've read and listened to, Jarrett was doing a lot of working from home. His wife was really unwell with breast cancer at this point. And I think from this point going forward, he's off TV for a good portion of time now after this. I think he was describing when they signed Angle on his podcast, he talked about feeling like a massive weight shifted off his shoulders and he could just like say, here, you take it now. I'm so tired from carrying all of this. I guess he was doing a lot on telly and behind the scenes. So. Some interesting stuff going on behind the scenes, as well as some really entertaining stuff on the pay-per-view. Yeah,
that was good. It was a good show.
It was, and I think I've enjoyed. I think I now, in retrospect, I enjoy it more now that we've just talked through it, and I've realised how good it was. There was part of me was like, every match is a gimmick match. Like, it doesn't need to be like this, but I didn't think it really grates on you that much.
Yeah,
I mean, when I think about it, the matches I really enjoyed, the tag title, 6 Sides of Steel, it is a gimmick match, but it was awesome. And the X Division match was really good. And it wasn't really a gimmick match.
No.
It was just an X Division title match, but it was, under the banner of X Division, but it was really good as well. So, those two very good matches, and I would say well above what my expectation was world title match.
Yeah.
I'm happy with the show.
Yeah, that was really good, and built on from last year. I think you said to me you thought maybe you enjoyed last year's just that little bit better.
Just a little bit more, but not that I found this a tough watch or was disappointed in it. I think maybe the freshness that I felt watching the first one wasn't going to be repeated, but I still enjoyed it, and it does still feel pretty fresh. I feel like we have just watched Sting and Jeff Jarrett, but I feel like we're not just watching the same stuff over and over again, which it started to feel a little bit like.
Yeah. Let's shall we take a wee look at Genesis 2006? We don't normally like to have a look at the card, but since we're doing a couple of little side quests, let's just have a look. So we're back in the Impact Zone. Just a wee word about the commentary team again. I think I said this the last time, but I feel like they just they were there, but not overbearing. They were kind of perfect.
Yeah, it works. Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Some good looking match. There's some good looking matches here. So we've got a 3-on-2 handicap match to kick off. Johnny Devine, Kazarian, and Maverick Matt versus the Voodoo Kin Mafia.
Okay.
BG James and Kip James. So
we're there. Okay.
They've went to the VKM thing. What a weird. I get it that's Vince's initials, but why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm sure we can
I never understood.
Find the reason for that. Jay Lethal and Sonjay Dutt versus the Naturals.
Okay.
You've got Jerry Lynn and Shane Douglas supporting both of these teams respectively, so a little ECW flavour there.
Yeah.
X Division match between Christopher Daniels, who is the champion, and Chris Sabin.
Okay. Yep.
So in a short time between pay-per-views, they've maybe split up, and Daniels has went on to win the X Division title. A tag team match, Lance Hoyt and Ron Killings versus the Paparazzi, which is Alex Shelley and Austin Starr with Kevin Nash.
Okay.
Interesting. A singles match, I want to see your face when I'm saying this. AJ Styles versus Christian Cage.
Oh yes.
That's what I thought your face would be like. World Tag Team match, LAX versus America's Most Wanted.
Yes.
That's what we wanted. Gail Kim's back. This could be the greatest pay-per-view we've ever watched, Adam. World title match, Sting versus Abyss.
Okay.
Not massively.
Maybe alright.
And the main event is a singles match between Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe.
This sounds good. There's definitely 3 matches that I'm very excited for on there. So
yeah. Me too. Awesome. I have a feeling what they might have done was after the Jarrett Sting match and Sting's the new champion, I have a feeling that they might have done run a tournament to determine the number one contender, and I think I don't know what I'm basing this off. I think that's what the Angle Joe match is to decide who is the number one contender. I think might be talking absolute trash, but so we'll run this pay-per-view, and then I want to say we'll run the next one as well because I think that is Angle Joe as well.
Okay,
and then we'll jump back to Bound for Glory. That sounds good.
Yeah. Nice. It's a necessary pivot because we can't just ignore what just happened.
Mm-mm. No way. It's too good. And we're getting added bonus, like the LAX America's Most Wanted thing was built really well.
Nice.
Christian AJ, and Daniel Sabin.
Yeah.
Decent. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Movie-wise, we have pivoted with the pivot, so we're going to do 28 Days Later, which is 28 Weeks Later was 2007. So what we're going to do is 28 Days Later for the next one, 28 Weeks Later for the following one, and then once we get back to Bound for Glory, we'll go to a 2007 film.
Nice.
So it's all good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You look at it. I wish I print screened your face when I said AJ versus Christian.
I've got my January beard just now, so yeah.
Going about David Letterman again.
It's January. I can't be bothered to do anything, so it's
fair.
Yeah, it just exists as it is.
And how are you feeling with your Texans having been dumped out of the playoffs?
It was pretty. It felt like a bit of a lesson, but I think if somebody had said that this is the season they would have, I mean, that was beyond what could have reasonably been expected from what was the second worst team in the league the year before. Yep. So yeah, all the positives. I'm quite looking forward now to the next games because I'm not really that fast what happens.
Do you think Stroud ends up with Rookie of the Year? Has to
I would have thought so. Yeah,
he's been brilliant. Absolutely, yeah. He was excellent against the Browns.
Yeah. I think it was just the Ravens have done this to so many teams. You know, they intercepted Purdy when they played the Niners. I think they intercepted him 5 times. You know, they're such a tough team to play against. So, no, I'm happy and build from there.
And who's your Super Bowl tip?
I think Ravens. I think I was speaking to somebody about this earlier. I think if the 49ers or Lions are going to win, they probably need the Chiefs to beat the Ravens because I think the Chiefs are maybe the only team I could see doing it now. But the Chiefs, they were not that good most of the season. Then the last 2 weeks in the playoff weeks, they've just really turned it on. So
that's what dynasty teams do, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I'd favour Ravens. I think they'd be my tip. What about you?
I said a couple of weeks ago, I'd like to see Lions Chiefs. In the bowl, stand by that. It'd be lovely if the Lions
great matchup.
Could see the Lions. I think you and I we saw Lions Chiefs one year at Wembley, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that one didn't go as well for the Lions, did it?
Nah,
I think.
Yeah. I would like to see that. It'd be great to see the Lions.
Yeah,
win.
Yeah, they've always been like the second team for me. So it's always been the other team I've wanted to do well. So I'd be very happy with that. I could see them beating the 49ers. I don't think they're unbeatable.
Yeah, it's a heavy order if you see the 49ers and Chiefs or Ravens standing in the way.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
We'll see. Excellent. Yeah. A wee bit bonus NFL chat for you. Okay, right, we'll be back in 2 weeks with TNA Genesis 2006. I am going to try really hard not to watch it too early because I must have watched this one about what feels like about a month ago, but clearly it wasn't. But it feels like it, so I need to try and keep it. I need to find the impacts to watch in between to get excited about.
Okay, yeah, I might. I don't usually do that, but I might actually.
Yeah, you're taking with this TNA. I can.
Yeah, it's good to have me.
Brilliant.
They've done well.
Brilliant. Okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Cheers.
You still there? Yes?
I'm still here.
Okay.
Lost you for a second.
I think just with the weather it's having some issues. It's alright, I can cut it out.
Yeah.
Where were you?